To Digital Marketing Planning Bootcamp, the first in a two-part series. It's hosted by the City of Mississauga, the Mississauga Business Enterprise Center, and we are going to walk through how to write your own digital marketing plan. So the Mississauga Business Enterprise Center is that central source for business information and guidance, and we're part of the Economic Development Office at the City of Mississauga. The future is unlimited.ca is where you can find us, but also mississauga.ca/MBEC. And this is me, bit of a background. Many of you already know who I am. I've been an entrepreneur for pretty much most of my adult life and went from a retail business, sold it, then have been a communications consultant for quite a few years now and joined the MBEC team a couple of years ago to help you as entrepreneurs build your digital literacy. So welcome today, and please feel free, and I would love for you to connect on social with me. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Laura L. Dunkley, and also Facebook at lauraldunkley.pro, and the blog lauradunkley.com is what I keep up. And a lot of the information here, you'll be able to actually get more information on my blog because I often write about digital marketing and communication strategies. So connect with me there. And we're going to get right into it because we have a lot of content to go over today. So here's the agenda. We're going to run through, for just as a refresh, the 7 steps digital marketing guide that I have been presenting for the last few months. So there's a digital marketing 101, social media content, but I take you through those 7 steps, and we're going to see now today how those 7 steps turn into a plan. So we're just going to run through that quickly. And then we dive right into the digital marketing plan. So again, if you want to download the link, it's in the chat. We have the digital marketing guide, which is a PDF. There's also a link to a Word document that is a digital marketing template, which takes you through the same outline that you should be able to download and use for your own business. So today we're going to run through the executive summary, background situation analysis, the SWOT, business goals, marketing goals and objectives, and target audiences. A lot to digest. And we're also going to include a scenario, a fictitious company called Garden Grows. It's a garden center that sells plants, does a bunch of different things. So we're going to run through those as an example. And chats, just to let you know, the Q&A after each section will pause. So if you have questions or answers, please put them in the chat, and we will respond to them. Amanpreet's going to bring them forward for us. So day 2 is just going to be a quick recap. So anyone attending today is going to get a link for day 2 on August 12th. And then we'll be able to do the tactics. We'll get into evaluation methods and metrics. And also there's going to be a bonus because I'm going to talk about content and social planning. Because your content marketing strategy and your social marketing strategy are nested strategies within your digital marketing plan. So they are part of it, but actually have individual plans. So we're going to talk about what that means on day 2 and a little bit about budget, because it does take a little money, time, and effort to make this all a success. And then we're also going to tell you about opportunities beyond this, because we're not leaving you hanging, is that there are resources and support and what those next steps will be. So we're talking about that on day 2, and we'll continue with the scenario company Garden Grows. So 7-step guide. First is your business plan. There's going to be a basic assumption if you're at this point and you're creating a digital marketing plan that you have thought through your business plan and you actually have part of that and most of that developed. Target audiences, you need to communicate with. You're going to learn 7 set goals is the 3rd. Right channels, you need to know what channels you're going to communicate on. Then you're going to create the plan, and the plan is where we're focused today. And then what's great content and how do you track performance, which is tracking your success. So this is it. Take this diagram, because what this will tell you is that it's not a linear process, even though you have to think of it initially like that, because it's always being updated. You're always learning, adapting, and re-implementing it. So certain things will be updated at certain times, and this is a guide to let you know. Your business plan doesn't get as updated as often. You're always tracking performance. Your target audience, you're paying attention to them and you're updating them goals are pretty fixed, but you're going to change that in your annual plan. And your channels too, you really want to think through your channels because they each have a strategy and you don't want to change that. And of course, your content is always being updated, and your plan, we're going to talk about how often that gets evaluated. So the business plan, just those key sections that you want to think about. You want to make sure you have about the company clear, operations and management, your SWOT and your financials, and sales and marketing strategy is really that key part that is going to affect how your digital marketing plan comes out. So you're going to do your market research. You have to know your product and service. If you don't know what you're selling, it's really hard to promote it. Your sales model, are you e-commerce? Are you retail? Are you combination? How are you doing it? Are you a drop shipper? Are you creating your own? Like, there's a lot of things to think about. Make sure you know what that is. How are you selling? Your target market is obviously included there. And what sets you apart, that value added proposition, your mission statement, the competitive analysis, who are the players that are out there, and then how are you going to promote it? So your business plan has to be in place. Your target audiences are key, and we're going to talk through that when we get into the guide in more details. And then your goals. For marketing goals, you want to make sure that they support your business goals. And what does success look like to you? Quite often people get into marketing and they go, oh, I just want to do a Facebook ad, or, I just want to promote things. And they don't really know what success is. So you have to be strategic in making sure your marketing goals support your business goals, and you know when and how you're going to measure success. Who are you targeting? So that's where we talk about when we get into objectives, they need to be SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And then what are those right channels? What are the right channels for your business? Because you are the one that knows your business more. And the whole part of this planning is that you can take this information and put it back to analyze it and through a critical lens so that you know what's right for your business. So there's three kinds of channels. One is owned, and it's always the most important thing is that you optimize your owned first. So owned is going to be your website, your social media profiles, all the things that you control the content. And then what happens is then you pay to supplement. So you optimize and you support and you build content around your owned channels, and then you pay to support that. So you do have to pay to play, but you want to make sure that the money you're investing in is working towards supporting your goals, but you're also driving traffic to your owned channel, which is why it's really important to make sure your owned channels are optimized and content is current and fresh. And earned is that sweet spot. It's that PR part, that media support or customer review that you can't pay to get it. But when you're really awesome, other people are going to pick up what you're laying down, and you're going to be able to get those reviews, those good 5-star reviews, those comments, maybe some media coverage. And you want to, and you can have strategies towards doing that, but you can also do things organically and people will find you. So how do we know what's the right channel? And you want to make sure your audience is there. You want to make sure the trends in your industry and the trends in the development of your channels are staying consistent. You want to consider how much budget do you have and resources. That includes money, time, and skills. Regulations, what do you have to know? Is it within your industry? What are you allowed to do and what are you not allowed to do? As well as what regulations are governed by your country, the users, different things like GDPR and CASL, like email marketing. So those have to be considered. And at the end of the day, how much effort do you have to put in to make the impact you want to make? There are certain channels that you go, like LinkedIn, maybe it's not your big channel, but you want to have a good profile that's out there and you just monitor it and update it periodically. So if it can make an impact and I don't have to take much effort, then that's part of how you determine if a channel is right for you. So those are all things that you need to do to know if the right channel is for you. And the reason we're taking you through this, and as we develop the plan, is you're going to have to consider all of these when you think of your tactics. So some of these are, your website is the hub of everything. And I'll say it's, some people don't put as much emphasis on the website as they should. It doesn't need a lot of money. It doesn't have to be fancy unless it makes sense and you're an e-commerce business. So you'll want to spend a lot more money and time considering that's your sales channel as well as your marketing channel. But for anyone else, professional services, we have a lot on the call here. The website is still a central place. It has one unique URL where you just drive people there and it sends people out. So it's like a hub. It also, if you are into blogging and thought leadership, that's probably where your website, where you're going to keep that. So website's the hub. Then social media is considered a channel. And there's also things like your Google business listing, and there's different directories that are out there. Messaging apps, WhatsApp, WeChat, FB messengers, a lot is going on here with messaging apps. So definitely pay attention to where this is going. Remember we talked about trends? This is one trend that is moving forward. And then email marketing, still quite effective. And then there's your digital ads, social media, potentially influencers that you want to invest in as well. Now, what other thing that you want to consider is your other channels outside your digital marketing. How are they going to play a role in supporting your digital marketing plan? So that might be in-store marketing. That could be brochures or print. Could be event platforms too, such as Eventbrite. Don't forget some of those. If you're in the music industry, there's also a lot of the channels that house your music or different events. And then there's traditional PR news that is, a lot has gone on the digital world. So make sure you consider all those external channels as well. So as we go through this, I'm going to mention the website again, because part of this website, these are the things you're going to want to think about, because your digital marketing plan, if it's driving things to your website and you want to be found on search, there are things that you need to consider. So keep it simple. It's going to be one of those URLs that you just, like for me, for my blog, it's lauradunkley.com. For many professional services, it's their name. You might have multiple that drive to it, but keep it super simple and make sure that URL is relevant, easy to remember. And make sure you have good web hosting, security, support, all of those things for reliability. Make sure it's easy to navigate. Those essential pages are there. Your home, about, products and services, and contact are those key pages. Everyone needs to have those. You may add in a blog or resources, but those have to be there. So make sure you check off that box. In those sections, the header is right at the top, and then the footer and the call to action. So every time someone lands on your website or on each page, you want to be very clear about what you want them to do. And then make sure that when they land there, it makes sense and that they take you through the user experience. So if you have an e-commerce site, you absolutely need to make sure that you build out that website so they follow through easily. If you are professional services or you're selling services, you still want to get them to somewhere, right? So it could be your form where they actually contact you to ask for a consultation. So always think through how that's going to be, and that's the CTA. It's your call to action on each page. How is it going to affect the user experience? Social media links, make sure they're there and they work. Please, if you have an existing website, you go in and check and make sure they're going to where they're supposed to be. If you're just starting, often templates that are out there have just random, they put all of them up there. So take down any of the ones that you don't have. Make sure the links are proper that are there. And subscribe buttons are things that are key marketing elements as well. So you want to, on your website, also have quality, relevant, and current content always, and keep it updated. It needs to be mobile friendly because most people are coming to your websites mobile, and it's easy to update. So if you're getting a website done by a developer, you just want to make sure you can go in and quickly update it all the time, that you can update it, because keeping things current is really important. And SEO friendly. So what is SEO? SEO is search engine optimization. These are the things you have to think about because you want to be found when you're doing this digital marketing strategy. You've got this great plan and then all of a sudden people can't find you. So the whole idea of search engine optimization, it's the process of making improvements, big and small, on and off your website in order to gain more exposure in search engine results. So it is the practice of increasing that quantity. So you want to keep updating and adding quality content to your website. And then that's going to drive traffic to your website through organic search engine results. And you can learn more. Moz.com is a really great resource if you ever want to learn more about SEO. And what affects search engine optimization? Keyword strategy. Someone did ask about keyword strategy, which is part of the reason I do this initial before the planning, is that keyword strategy is really important, not just for search engine optimization, but for user experience. And know that user experience, Google's just trying to support what they believe the user wants to see. So they're going to crawl through your website and see, hey, they're talking about fashion, women's fashion clothing, and you start talking about cats. Well, it just doesn't make sense. And Google's going to go, oh, hey, I'm not going to bring that website in front of these people, and they're going to get confused. Be very clear about what keywords you want your audience, what they're interested in, and you incorporate that into your website. So how do you find out what keywords are right for you? Part of it is your target audience research. You have to know it. We're going to talk about how to do that. Google has a keyword planner. There is a website called Ubersuggest by Neil Patel, and Moz Pro and SEMrush are other two really good websites. So there's a bunch of them out there, and honestly, if you Googled that, you could find a lot of blogs and how-tos on that. So just make sure you have some level of keyword strategy in place. So backlink strategy, that is links from other sources like your directories that are going to come back to your website and make sure they're relevant. And then within your website, you want to create those hyperlinks that go to sections. So if you have talking about a blog about women's fashion, and this is the kind of things that you're going to create, this is the styles you put together, and then you could link over to a product. So make sure you think through the links and how you want your users to go through. Local signals are things like putting Google Maps onto your website. They're the different directories, local directories, and social media. So you have a lot of links coming back to your website. And then also encourage online reviews. And what's great with that is it supports the reputation is a big word that we use for SEO too. It's relevancy and reputation, because all of a sudden Google's going to pay attention, or your search engines, on how other people are viewing your website. So do find as part of your strategy to encourage online reviews, create great content consistently, and then make sure your website is built with proper code and structure and metadata, and your images, things like that, have alt tags on them. So the plan is what we're going to talk about today. So we'll get into that. But first, actually, no, yes. So the difference between strategy, plan, and campaign. So a strategy is that part of your business plan. Remember, we were talking about sales and marketing strategy. That's that big level, what you're going to do overall as a business as a whole on how you're going to promote your business. And these are PR things. Doesn't mean you're going to do it every year. It doesn't mean you're going to do it every month. But to support the success of your business, you're going to create a strategy. And then the plan is typically you're going to take that strategy and then you're going to come down and you're going to create an annual plan for all of your marketing. We're talking about digital marketing here today, but when you talk about a marketing plan, that can include trade shows, if virtual or in person, which we hope one day we'll get back to being able to do more of that. Networking, PR, media strategies, different things that would be part of your whole marketing plan. Typically, I suggest yearly with key milestones to review, because you want to update it as things might change in your business. Your strategy doesn't change as often, but your annual plan probably should be tweaked as our economy changes constantly in the landscape. When I did my first business plan way back many years ago for my first business, I had it in a great binder and it stayed there and had a mission statement that often doesn't change. But I went through all of that, and 10 years later, I probably updated it after a few years. So just know that now is not like then. You need to have an evergreen document that changes regularly, but only during key milestones. That's why you have to have a plan so that you can adapt as needed. So the campaign itself, and that's all very similar structure, the same table of contents you can leverage for each of these and fit them in. The campaign is how are you going to take those tactics, those annual marketing plans, and execute on that specific tactic. So if I said I'm going to do an event to promote something, or I have, if it's an event, you will create an entire campaign to get people to attend your event. And you're going to have goals, and you're going to have audiences, and you're going to have specific things that you're going to do for marketing. You're going to do the same table of contents structure, but it's going to be specific to support that tactic. And that's how it all works, because it all goes up to your sales and marketing strategy. It has to support that, which goes up to your business plan. And that is it in a nutshell. So a lot of thinking, but just know that it's the same structure for everything. And then you get down into content marketing strategy. So we have our plan. So you're going to have a digital marketing plan, but then for when you develop your content, you're going to have specific goals. You're going to know what your audience is. You're going to know what to create. You're going to have to figure out what resources you have for that specific content. And then how are you going to get it out to your people? Remember, you're going to have your strategy, so you're going to know what channels, and you're going to leverage those, but you may supplement certain ones in for different campaigns. And then how are you going to promote it? How much money do you want to put behind it? And then manage, measure, and adjust, always supporting that overall plan. And then you're going to use tools on how to manage that. Editorial calendar. We're going to talk about this on day 2. Different ways to manage that, but you can use a basic spreadsheet, or some people also like to use online tools. We use that. Amanpreet and I use this to manage ours. But we also have started with Excel spreadsheets as planning tools. It could be a combination of the two. Just know it depends on your team. It depends on what you want out of that. So there are different options, and there's a ton of them out there. These are only a couple. So great content is mostly you pick what makes sense to you. Remember, we talked about resources, timing, planning. You won't do everything. You're just going to make whatever sense it makes to you. So videos are key. We talked about trends, webinars such as this that can be repurposed. Think about repurposing. Podcasts are wonderful, but take a lot of work, but they go a long way. Blogs on a regular basis, they add value, plus they're great for search engine optimization. All of these are something that you need to consider for your industry, your expertise, the time, and what you want to achieve. So great content, basically, it has to be mobile friendly, has to be timely, relevant, engaging. Be unexpected is always a good thing, but make sure you get to the point. Know your audience, but get that hook in there, and build out your content for the right things, and make sure you close it with a call to action. So you want to know every time you create content, you want to know why, and make sure you tell a story. And it moves people through the funnel. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this afterwards. But when you have goals that are awareness, it's about traffic. And then you want to have them consider your business. And then they're going to make a decision. And then loyalty is about keeping them on. So all your digital marketing strategy should be part of moving them through basic brand awareness. Oh yeah, they're a great company. For sure, I have that information now. I'm going to decide to buy from you. And oh, your service was so good. I'm going to stick around. So that is the funnel. That is the strategy that you're always going to want to support as you build out your plan. And where do we get the methods, the information to track performance? And you'll want to think about this at the beginning as you plan it out too. And I put methods across the top because this is going to be important when we come into the plan. So where do we get the information to tell us if we're successful? Google Analytics is something that will help determine what kind of traffic and who's coming and where they're coming from to your website. Google My Business has some great ones. Social media insights, Facebook, Instagram. There's a bunch of all the platforms have great insights. And then advertising, if you do advertising, they'll tell you some metrics there. And then places like Hootsuite, where you do scheduling tools, I haven't found them specifically to be great when it comes to metrics, but know that they are another source. When you do your email campaigns, they have great reports. Social Mention's a company that you can look into, and it's free. Google AdWords is another one if you do that, surveys, and then if you have in-house data. So to show you where that falls into the funnel, see, these are the metrics. So the methods is how you're going to collect it. The metrics are the numbers that you want to think about. So awareness is website traffic, email subscribers, very high level. Then we get into consideration. So if they're landing on your website and they're bouncing off, they're not really digesting your content, so they're not really considering it. So you want to lower that bounce rate. What kind of comments are they making? Oh yeah, that's great. Your information really helped me. Now they're getting through the consideration stage before they buy from you. Different surveys, click to read more. It's that next level. And then when they come to the decision, that means they've decided to buy from you, and that's going to be your shopping cart. How much did it cost to actually get into the cart? How many events did you sell? Very more sales metrics. And then loyalty, you can do some retargeting. And did they return to your traffic? Email subscribers, are there people unsubscribing? Are they staying on? Is it growing? Return buyers, all of those kind of things. So those are the metrics. Methods is how, the metrics is what we're going to use to show us we're successful. So that's it. That's the 7 steps, right on time. And we're now going to move into the plan. But before we go, I do want to say, if you did miss any of the back, that was a very fast, high level of the 7 steps. So thanks for getting through that quickly with me. We have started to record our seminars, so we do have a couple of them that are up on our website or should be soon. And social media and email marketing are up there now. Oh, is it social media? No, social media is coming up and it will be recorded in September. Email marketing and content marketing are up there. If you want to know how to write a business plan, I'm just in the process of editing that one. It will be up there too. And digital marketing, the 7-step guide, we did one for musicians, which just takes you through the same one. It's very specific to the music industry, but you could also learn from that and adapt it to your business. And that should be up there shortly too. So the futuresunlimited.ca/tag/webinar. And Amin, I'm wondering if you could drop that tag, that link into the chat, if that's possible. And is there any questions? I mean, I don't want to spend too much time going over that because that was just meant to be a brief overview. But Amin, was there any specific questions as I went through that?
There were questions around like good hosting companies. People had asked for it.
Yeah, it's that's a pretty specific question. You might want to reach out to me individually. Just look at some reviews. I know I've tried out a few hosting. Some have been very supportive and others haven't. I've now have mine with a local company that for me, it was really important to know I could call someone up and say, hey, you know, this is really, I really need help. And then also, where are they keeping their servers? And that was a question I asked, their service level agreement, look into that. Those are the kind of key questions you want to ask up front and then get some reviews. I've been really happy with mine, but those are the questions I asked. If where your server information, if it's really important to have it on the Canadian side because of the business that you're in, if you're in high security or information, you might want to ask that question as well. And then there's also places like Squarespace and Wix and the site builders that have been quite reliable. If you are in the e-commerce world though, really important, more so than just a basic marketing website. So make sure you work with the company that really does understand e-commerce and that reliability, and make sure that they have that service level agreement in place for you. Was there any other ones?
I guess there's a more general one. Any advice on how to stick to the plan or when to pivot? What kind of, I guess, signs to look for?
Oh, yes. So we'll get, that's actually good right now, because remember we talked about strategy. Strategy is going to be your big one, right? It's going to give you the big overview of what you want to accomplish 5-10 years. And your channels may change and you might update that periodically. Your plan, you're going to probably take about a year and maybe pivot slightly within it, but you don't want to pivot so much that you have to reinvent yourself or spend, it's that effort to impact. You really have to have all that information ahead of you. Now, right now, during this crisis, people absolutely, if you have a digital marketing plan and you have not looked at it again, you need to look at it right now. This is a perfect example of when you evaluate and you pivot, you review your research and you evaluate the current situation in, we're going to talk about that, but the current situation and what's working and what's not working. You want to still be strategic and move your plan forward to support your business goals. But you might decide that obviously print, when people aren't out there, billboards, people aren't driving by, you are going to say, okay, I'm going to spend more time and effort in my digital marketing plan than ever before. You're going to look at trends and say, okay, well, everyone is now on on Instagram, for example. And I'm just throwing that out there, and you're finding your audience is moving to Instagram more. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to spend less time maybe on LinkedIn and I'm going to work on here. Maybe you're going to say, okay, Instagram now is doing social commerce is really moving forward. So what about using Instagram more to do social commerce, to actually put my shopping carts on there to sort of drive traffic? There's so many reasons, which is why you need to have a plan so you can come back to it and go, what's working, what's not working, let's do this. You test your ads, you do A/B testing, and you just keep moving around within that structure. But you don't want to bail on a channel quickly, because you've just invested a ton of time and money maybe building up your Instagram, and you're going, well, I don't know, should I leave? It's like, you have to evaluate that. That's very valuable. And so but right now you have to know your audience more than ever. And we're going to spend quite a bit of time on audiences, and that's really key. So I'm going to move forward for the sake of time. And here we go. So how to write a digital marketing plan. And for any latecomers, just a reminder, there are 2 handouts in the chat. There is the guide, that's a PDF that you can download. And then there is a template that you can use and fill it out and put all your business information in it. So that is in the chat area. And you'll also have access to these slides afterwards. So here's your table of contents. And what we're going to focus on today is the top section. We're going to see how much we get through. Whatever we don't get through to, we can carry over to tomorrow. But tactics takes quite a bit. And then and I really want to talk to you about how to manage your tactics, the planning. So we're going to try and get through as much as this top level as we can. So the executive summary includes key highlights, such as why are you proposing the plan? What do you want to accomplish? Start, finish, and key milestone review dates. Who will be involved in the project? And your budget total and possible risks. I'll just move this so that I know. So the reason for all of this is to just give a highlight. It's basically, you can write this at the end, and then it's just that executive summary, similar to what you would have in a business plan. So this gives you an idea of everything you're going to do, and when you need to come back to this, it's a quick reminder of what you planned to do. Now, you could also take this executive summary and it can be part of your strategy. I'm going to talk about that afterwards, and you might flip a couple of these too. But basically, this is your strategy in review. And so an example is going to be, and we're going to walk through this after each section, we're going to walk through our scenario. So this is our gardening company, our garden grows. So her executive summary, And she's an existing company, and she has a website with some social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, but it's not really happening. There's not much going on. She also has a blog on her website, but she's not been updating it. Now, they do have a marketing manager, and that marketing manager is going to do most of the work, but they're also going to spend about $500 a month for digital advertising. So they have their own platforms. When we talked about that, it's not optimized. She's going to work on that too, but she really wants to drive traffic to her website and to her other channels. So the fact is that there is an employee working on this, not an external, and they might leave. So those are things to just be aware of. She really wants to make things happen because she's on a quick timeline. So it is recommended that she does hire someone to oversee her plan. And in my past life, I did that quite often, is I would jump in and oversee the plan, make sure it's strategic, help them out, but someone internally would manage the actual execution of it. So working together with someone like that can actually support your success. So that is what her executive summary. It's a quick, brief snapshot of what she's going to do. So is there any questions on executive summary? It really shouldn't, there shouldn't be too many of those. Amin, was there any? Because I'm just going to stop after each section.
No, not any questions. Nope. Yeah.
Okay, it's pretty basic, but just know that you can flip this, and this can also be considered part of your strategy. So your background and your situation analysis, this is where you put a little bit in about your company and why you're even doing this marketing plan in the first place. And this, again, it could go up before executive summary if you decide to use that as your strategy, but you want to put a little bit in there just to remind yourself of what the current situation is. And this is part of your research. So right now, this is perfect because we currently find ourselves in a crisis. So what is the current state of the company? And why are you doing this? And quite honestly, right now, it's you need to take your audience online and make sure that it's optimized where you fit into this. If you're just starting a business during this crisis, you want to rethink the in-person versus digital and where you're going to put your efforts. And so really make sure that you think about that background and reevaluate it, make sure it's current. Situation analysis, PESTLE is an acronym that is used, and that's just doing basically a scan of the environment. And so what's the political situation? Is there environmental considerations? Sustainability is a really important part of people's buying habits as it changes that way. What's the social situation? And definitely during this crisis, social has changed. A lot of this situation analysis, if you did this a year ago, is going to change. What technology is available? I'll tell you, it's amazing. And definitely during this crisis, technology development has gone through the roof, and not just the fact that it's sped up in development, but there are so many things that are available at a low cost or even free. So if you are rethinking this, in certain things that thought, oh, augmented reality is just so expensive, or there's no way I would have the ability to go on and start a webinar because it's so challenging. Well, most of the time the cost has come down and they've made it more user-friendly. So please do the situation analysis, whether you're a starting company or existing, legal implications, and obviously the economic situation. So write all of that down is really, really important on setting the stage for the rest of your digital marketing plan. So as an example, this company, they're coming into their peak season. So they're late at planning and they have stuff coming up. So this is going to be done at the beginning of the year. So if you do a calendar year, pick a time, pick a date, and I will say planning moving forward. When you set these milestone dates, set aside a weekend, a week, whatever it takes to be able to review and update your marketing plan, including your digital marketing plan. So they're coming up to peak season and they have a bunch of events planning because Easter and Mother's Day are kind of important for a garden center. Main sales weekend is May 24th. No, so initial research and planning needs to be done prior to this. So it's now January, and oh my goodness, we better get started doing this because they don't want to miss this opportunity. They also have 4 key competitors that have been online for a long time, so they need to pick up their game, especially right now. Like this, I did this plan last year, but it's still quite relevant because they're moving towards going online. But if you were dragging your feet about going online previously, you can't afford to do that now, especially during COVID. So please, this is absolutely current for all of us to build out your brand. So another thing to put into this section will be a little bit about who you are, and this is your brand guidelines. So if you were on the Music Digital Marketing 101, we talked a bit about brand guidelines and what that includes. Now, the example we showed was from a graphic designer who did this big brand guideline, but it's still, even if you're going to do it yourself, you still need to have an idea of what your brand is, what style, who you are. So this one is, she says they're simple, light, and airy with a classy but fun attitude. And why is that important? Well, part of that is important is because of the language you're going to use and the images that you're going to use when you develop your content marketing. So really important to understand who you are as a business. And there's also, I included in here that the person, the owner is open for to update their marketing strategy. The website is included, and also that color, that hex number. So that's where please at least have the main color and your secondary colors established. Write it down and only use that. Don't kind of just guess. So you want to make sure you have even a very simple brand guideline because that will help you stay consistent and also help you work with any other marketing professionals. Questions on background situation analysis? This is all just setting the stage, but really important as we move forward. Is there any?
No, I don't see any.
We're good? Okay.
Yeah.
So SWOT is the same as you would do in your business plan. It's your strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. But as you do this, you're now going to take those same principles and apply it to your digital marketing plan. So for instance, your strengths, or it could be your weaknesses, do you have the skills to do it? Do you have people internally that are going to be able to support your plan? Do you have people already in place that are external? Do you have budget that you're going to be able to help? Because if you aren't a strong writer and you really believe that writing content is going to be important for your business, you're going to have to consider that outsourcing some of that. So all of this part is just establishing what you're good at and what you're not good at. Do you have existing channels? What's your industry expertise? Because if you're a subject matter expert, it could get down to, I know exactly about everything, but I can't put it into words. So your expertise might be, I'm going to put down a whole bunch of notes. I'm going to send it off to my writer. They're going to write it and put it into blog format. They're going to put it on the website. So those are the things on why we want to do this. What resources do you have available, time and money? And do you have any other competing priorities? Because all of a sudden, if you're in this garden center and you have to do major renovation somewhere on the property, or something else happens, or whatever it is, if you need to have eyes on that, because it will help determine whether your digital marketing plan, your goals will be successful. And those opportunities and threats, so strengths and weaknesses are internal. Opportunities and threats are typically external. So what are those marketing trends? What tools are available to help you do what you need to do? New marketing opportunities, and that could be co-marketing, and especially during this crisis, look for opportunities. And I've seen some amazing success stories where they'll find people will start to come together and do some co-marketing. So it could be a wholesaler supporting their retailers. Maybe there's people within a small town that get together and say, well, if you provide this and this and this, let's do a virtual event together. And I've seen that where it's maybe food and beverage place, and then maybe there's artisans, and you actually can package packages to send out to support workers or things like that. So those are those new marketing opportunities that even during a crisis, and especially during a crisis, we should be looking for. Competitors' marketing activities, go check them out. Not just to see what your competition is, but to get inspiration from them. What are they doing? What are they doing well? What are they not doing well? And marketing noise is in a time when, especially during crisis, if we're going to put out a campaign, you want to make sure that you are paying attention to and sensitive to the current situation. But also, if all of a sudden there's a mass event going on, you don't want to compete with something like that. So do that scan to see what other things are out there. And then make sure that you know of legal or regulations that you should consider that may hamper your, maybe a threat against what you plan to do. So, for example, for the garden center, she put down things like, and you'll have this for afterwards, so I won't read through all of them, but budget, she definitely has budget. She has skilled internal people, which are really going to help. And I do love when it's an internal and you learn how to do it yourself, or you have employees, because they're there, they see things happening. They can take pictures of flowers. They can take little videos of how people are putting plants together. There's a lot of things that you can do immediately that maybe a digital marketing expert can't always be there. So having internal staff that are willing and able to do some of the work is really important. Positive attitudes, really important. The owners invested, and this is, you are all, most of you are individual owners. So make sure that you are invested in making this happen, especially if you do have a team that's involved. She's established, so she has loyal customers. All of these things are really important. Reputation in industry. Write them down, to encourage yourself, as well as be, supporting your digital marketing plan and knowing what you can leverage to make it successful. It is nice to see it down on paper. Weaknesses, keep it real. So this is the fact that quite often, and most often, I don't know who doesn't have some level of competing priorities, but they're busy. If they're serving customers, do you really want them out there taking pictures of flowers? So you'll always have to pay attention to that, especially during busy season. So what that might be is like, okay, it's busy season. We need to make sure we have our content ahead of time so it doesn't take our staff away from serving customers, because that's ultimately what you want. Weakness is that seasonal in-store traffic. If you don't have that, you don't catch that opportunity, you're going to miss out, and that could be a challenge as well that can be supplemented, but it's identified as a weakness. So and she currently has very little activity. So make your list. This is specific to her industry, but honestly, a lot of these things you might find relevant to you, even as a professional, a wholesaler, an educator. Just make the list and keep it real. Opportunities are, okay, she's on Instagram already. This is great. So it's increasing in popularity. Facebook has some new things. And I will say Facebook continues to develop. So if you don't think Facebook is an opportunity, and one of the trends really is that Facebook is increasing despite some of the challenges they have, that is noticeable in the news these days. Facebook continues to grow and support their users. Email marketing is an opportunity, absolutely, and I have seen this very successful in similar situations work well, because social media is great for conversation, but email goes right to your inbox. There's tools out there that are free or very low cost, and local events. Like for her, this is a local event. They would go out and do things to support them, because it's a small business in a local environment. But you could be a service professional and still participate in local events, and local events might even be virtual local events right now. So scan that and see if there's opportunity. And obviously online sales, which is new for this business, might also be new for you. So think about, if you currently have existing channels and you aren't selling online, there's a great opportunity that's out there. digitalmainstreet.ca/shop here is a fantastic place where, check it out. It is a free opportunity it's a free service to build a website using Shopify. There's a lot more information to it. I will send a link. Actually, Amin, can you drop that into the chat to our website rather than going through all of it? And you can check it out if you are considering building an online sales website. And the threats can be, yes, there is privacy concerns with Facebook. At this time, there was. Castle has to be considered. So, oh my goodness, do I have to go through and now learn about Castle? What if I don't do it right? All of those things are things that you have to be considered, and for sure, local competition that's already there. And any questions on this one, Amin?
No,
SWOT? No? Oh, there may have come some to me. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for dropping that in. So I hope I did answer. There was someone asking about COVID specific, and I hope I addressed that throughout all of those SWOTs. So let's get into business goals. And you'll take this probably from your business plan, but it's going to be specific to what you're going to do for this year. So you're not going to do all your business goals. Maybe your goals was general for 5 to 10 years. So what goals are the marketing efforts that are going to support what you're going to do? So be specific. Don't try and achieve all your business goals based on this. This is where you're going to start to prioritize. One of it might be to increase your market share. But maybe launching a new product isn't what you're going to do right now, but maybe that's going to be in year 3 and 4, and we'll focus on that then. But you definitely need to increase sales, and you want to open an international office, but that again is your 5-year plan. So this is where we go, okay, so which ones are we working on this year? And you write it down and make sure that it is SMART, as we mentioned. Now there's business goals and objectives, but for the purpose of a digital marketing plan, you don't need to be quite so specific in your objectives. Just make sure you want to know what you want to achieve when you want to achieve it. So if you're going to increase your market share, you do want to know what market share you're going to be taking. Who are those people you want to address? And at what point do you want to achieve success, and how are you going to measure that success? So you want to be as specific as possible so it will support your marketing goal. Because if your marketing goal isn't supporting your business goal, it's not moving your business forward. And it looks great. Oh, I got so many Instagram followers. Well, how is that supporting your business goals? So this is where it has to start with your business goal. So for example, our business owner here, she wants to increase revenue by 50% by December 31st. That was last year, in comparison to 2018. Now for you, you're going to have more specific stats and it'll be more detailed. But for the sake of this example, I just want to let you know that timeliness and a percentage of increase and what she wanted to achieve was written down. And it keeps you focused when you write it down. So the marketing goals are going to support that business goal. So what do you want to achieve through your marketing efforts? So she wants to build her brand, because the more people that know about her, she's going to get more lead generation. It's the more possible to be able to move them through the funnel. She wants to increase the demand for her product. So she's going to let them know how great her product is and start to get leads. And then she wants to be able to improve the retention of her customers. This is important. It's going to set the stage now for all her tactics. That everything she's going to do is going to roll up and support these marketing efforts. So do they support her business goals? Yeah, because if you do all of these things, you're going to increase your revenue. That's the plan anyways. And what she needs to think about now, are there a place in the sales funnel where customers are getting stuck? So we have our goals set in place, and we really want to take into consideration what we talked about before. Where are they getting stuck? And this is just part of your analysis. If people don't even know she's out there because she doesn't have an online presence, well, you better optimize your owned channels, and you're going to have to start investing. Maybe you have to pay a little bit more at the beginning. If they're coming and they're not following through and purchasing her product, you might have a update the website and how it's structured, and maybe you need more content to show them what they can do with the products you're selling. Maybe you need to do a decision list, competitive analysis. If you're a professional, you're going to want to build out some information about to help the decision maker. Maybe it's a white paper, things like that. Moving down, for this client, it could be that I don't know anything about gardening, and there's a lot of newbies, and it's like, you need to give me some tips on how to do this. And that's like, oh, this is how I do a salad garden. It's like, oh, I didn't know it was that easy. Okay, I'm going to go and these are the plants I can put together, and oh my word, and I can just click and purchase that. Super. So now that's taken care of. People were coming, but they were getting stuck in the consideration and the decision. And now it's so easy to buy online. Now I have that. Now she also wanted part of the loyalty people. So are they going to keep coming? So maybe at the end of that, we have to consider, how are we going to get online reviews? So this is where we have the marketing goals in place. Where are they getting stuck? And then you get down into those marketing objectives. So this is where we get into the SMART. So you need to be specific. Take those marketing goals. The objectives need to support the marketing goals. Realistic, yeah, you know what? I want 1 million followers. Yeah, it's not going to happen. And don't go buying any. You want everything to be quality. Timeline, make sure it's considered, put in your measurements of success, and typically choose about 2 or 3 objectives. So for example, if you're a startup that wants to build awareness, you want to acquire qualified leads to your traffic, to your website, by X amount of users a month, decrease your bounce rate, and I want to do it in 6 months. That's just a general idea. But let's show what it looks like in practice. So for our scenario, remember she wanted to increase revenue. So marketing goals are to increase online brand awareness, because more people, hopefully more revenue. Provide resources for customers to enhance their gardening experience, build a reputation, provide solution. Okay, remember that funnel where they were getting stuck and they're going, okay, so we brought people here. If we provide resources, that's going to increase our chance to increase revenue. And then we also want to improve customer service by providing opportunities to engage with these customers online. So maybe we have a chat that we add in, or different tactics. We're going to talk about tactics next week. So the objectives would be to increase online brand awareness. We have to be specific, right? So we want to increase traffic to the website by X amount of percentage. We want to increase followers. That means there's more people we're going to reach with our content. Theoretically, all depends on algorithms. And then increase the number of people found the store through online search. And we can do things like that. Methods could be a survey or things like that. So those are all things about how we're going to know if our brand awareness has increased. The second is going to be about providing resources for customers. So maybe you start a VIP garden club thing. So they're going to receive emails and blog subscriptions and things like that. So that is one of the tactics that you're going to use, and you want X amount of people to sign up. And you're also going to create content bi-weekly for gardening tips. And that's actually it's not even, one of the goals was to provide the resources. It's not actually to see if they're reading it. So that is just one of those things, without getting into too much communications strategies, but just say this is an output that we want to commit to, and that can be an objective as well. Improve customer service, and how are we going to measure success? We're going to increase the amount of positive reviews, and that could be on Google, it could be on Facebook, wherever that might be, and then create and manage online chat tools. So that is hitting all those goals, and we have 3 specific objectives that we're going to target and make sure everything we do is going to support these. This is why you can't even get into the tactics and creating a content strategy unless you know the why and the intent and how you're going to measure success, which is why part of the marketing planning is your goals and objectives have to be clear and realistic. Now, as you go through, the tactics might change, because I'll tell you, and that's really when we have to pivot in a time of crisis and things are always happening and things are always changing, it's going to be when you do the tactics. And that, again, we'll talk into that next week, but you can go, okay, I believe right now that this is going to happen. But at your first milestone, you're going to go, well, I haven't moved the needle. Nothing's happening. It's not happening. And major things have happened, like maybe the crisis. And you go, okay, so if I had offline tactics in place, I need to pivot those to keep my goals and objectives where I want them to be. And so that's where we change things. It's going to be in the tactics section. So target audiences are the next one. And I am going to pause because objectives and goals are one of the hardest things for people to understand. And you might have to take this away and then reach out to me afterwards if you want to learn more. And Preet, was there anything specific, goals, that questions?
No, I on my end.
Okay.
No questions came up.
I'll just have a quick look. Oh, some did come privately. Make sure if you're asking a question, it goes to all panelists, because if it doesn't go to all panelists, and Pre can't see them and I might miss them. So so please resend the question if I've missed something. I am going to look at a couple though. The webinar. So someone's asked if the slides will be available. Yes, the slides and a recording will be available afterwards. SWOT high level. Yes, SWOT does not need to be in details. This is for your reference. Now, you know what it's going to be. It's a trigger, which is why I would say definitely keep it as a bullet. If you are putting this out to someone else, or you're trying, you're probably none of you are at the RFP stage, but if you want to have a digital marketing person support you, as much detail as you can put in would be good, but please don't spend too much time in the SWOT. It's really just a trigger. I would rather you spend more time making sure your goals and objectives are clear, and then your tactics and your planning is really where your time is going to be. This is just setting the stage. Yeah, what's business goal? Yeah, so that your business goals. So somebody asked about a business goal. Is it only for marketing? No, so your business goals are going to come out of your business plan. So this is your business goals. You're going to have your sales and marketing strategies are going to support your business goals. All of that is going to support your business goals. Sales and marketing typically work together to support that business goal. As you get down into the more granular marketing goals, then you're going to choose this year, these are the business goals we're going to focus on, because even in your business plan, you have timelines. And to get me to move towards my business goal for this year, what marketing goals do I need to set to support that goal? So I hope that answered that one. How about other goals? Other goals. Okay, I'm not sure this one. If I miss something again, you might have to clarify it. Do you have some of those, just how to measure? When setting up marketing goals, do you have suggestions on how to quantify some of them, such as how to measure building your brand, or resources where to learn more? So marketing goals, when it gets into quantifying, that's where it gets down into your objectives. That's where the quantity is going to really on whether or not you've tracked your performance goals. So brand awareness, I may have to take that. You might have to ask that extra to me I'll take that offline. Send an email to me about that, and I will look into the marketing goal question that you have and then bring it back to people next week. Setting up marketing. So marketing goals and objectives. I have a link. I wrote an article a long time ago, and it still gets picked up a lot, and it's communication goals and objectives, and it might give you some more clarity. I will send that out afterwards to everyone, which might help. This is something that is hard to get to, and I'm hoping as we go through the tactics that you will understand as we push it back up and develop out your plan. You will see what it is. So we're going to keep moving on. because you're getting pretty specific in some of your questions that you may have to reach out to me at the end of this. That will be one of the supports that I can offer, is that once you do your digital marketing strategy, have a one-on-one with me, and I'm happy to work with you through that. So target audience is really important, and to successfully reach your marketing goal, who needs to hear your message? So this is the big question, the $1 million question. Who needs to reach, who needs to hear your message? And that is going to be beyond just your target audience. This is how we're going to build out personas and you talk about your key stakeholders. So what that's going to start with, and whether you use a mind map or an Excel spreadsheet, I want you to go through this exercise. Put yourself in the business and think about all those people that will influence the success of your business. And that customers obviously are going to be really important, but there are times where you need to communicate investors. There's going to be employees for that will support the success of your business. Partners, community, government, organizations. It may be media or influencers and competition. This is a sample. There are possibly many others. And then take some of these bubbles and then break it down even further. So first, put them all on paper. It's nothing about the specific personas and avatars. We're going to get to that. But first, we need to put everyone down, because at different points, you're going to want to have to communicate to them based on your different goals. And then what we do is we take all of those, whether you do a post, sometimes Post-it notes are a really great opportunity if you have a whiteboard or even a wall, and put them up there. So you've got them all there, and now we're going to put them into the right box. So on this matrix, we have those that are influential and those that are interested in your business. And the first one we're going to put in the bottom corner is those that have very least of influence on your business, and they're really not interested, but they may shift. So at some point, and that's why maybe you're not even doing media right now, and it's not important, and you put it down there, and you can leave that in that box, but it might shift next year, or all of a sudden COVID comes, and all of a sudden all of these things shift around too, because different people are going to mean different things to your business. And then there's show consideration. Those are people that don't have a lot of influence, but are really interested in your business. And then meet their needs. Those are people, they're not really interested, but lots of influence. And to give you an example, a meet their needs will be a client that has already purchased from you and has the ability to be influential, but they're not really interested in buying from you again. And that's where you're going to see Google reviews. Those are things. So you want to make sure you take care of them. That's that loyalty piece at the bottom. So maybe part of your content strategy is if loyalty is an important part of your goals, you want to change that too. But meet their needs is typically, they're not really ready to buy from you, but they're very influential. And then the key player, those are the ones that have influence and they're also really interested. And those are the ones that you really want to dive down and really get to know those people. So I'm going to use an example that I typically use, and it's say if you own a car dealership business. So a least important person is going to be that 5-year-old, right? They don't really care about what car you're going to buy. And you think they really influence? They don't have deep pocketbooks to buy a car. So, but we're going to put them there because at some point, maybe they're going to be of interest as they grow. Show consideration. Those are the people in a car owners, in the car owner world, of people that don't have a lot of money but are really interested. So that might be that college student that wants a new car but really can't afford it. You're still going to let them know because at some point they're going to graduate from college and they're going to have finances. Meet their needs, or someone who just bought a car and they're going to write a great review. Key player is someone who is ready to buy. They have a lot of influence on the purchase decision. Maybe it's the mom who has to take their kids to soccer practice and they need a bigger car, and she has a lot of interest She has a lot of influence on the purchasing decision. So that's an example. So take all of your stakeholder map, put them in, and it helps fine tune who that key player is, because most of your digital marketing tactics are going to go to that key player section because we all have limited resources. Part of your template is going to include a spreadsheet or at least a graphic that you could take here, list those key stakeholders, put in there what category they are. Remember the bubbles in the first graphic. And then you're going to take that matrix and you're going to just put an X or identify who is going to be in here. And this will build out who your audience is. So this will be an ongoing template. It's just to put it down so that you have an idea at some point who you need to focus your marketing dollars on. So who's your target audience? A lot of time, the more you can go into this, the better. If you have a target audience profile already, because that's pretty much what we're going to try and build here, is that persona. If you did this a year ago, you need to rethink this and re-look at it, because people now during this crisis are not the same. Their age, their gender, things like that, where they work, that might have changed too. But most importantly, what has really changed is their lifestyle and their behaviors. What kind of things are they buying right now? What are those really important things to them? How has their life changed? Well, they're spending a lot of time at home, and companies like Canadian Tire and all of these big organizations are finding it incredibly, like, it's busy. We know that just from sheer lineups, but do your research and you will see that these things have changed. So how do you need to pivot? Because you know the audience and you've done your research, how do you need to pivot and update that target audience persona that you have? So include all of these things, make sure it's current, ask these questions, challenges, purchasing motivators, how you can help them. Why are they going to choose from you? What media do they use is really important. And is there a primary audience and a secondary audience? Those key questions, if you go through them, will help you identify that key player, that target audience, so that you know what you need to do to provide them, to help them move through the funnel, to create what tactics that you're going to do in the next stage, right? What are you going to build out? What's the kind of language you're going to use? What kind of content are you going to create that stimulates a purchasing decision? If you have, well, actually, we'll talk about the example in the garden center to help you with that. So where do you get that information? There's focus groups, surveys, sales data. You can interview people. What kind of event traffic? Who's coming to your events and who's not going to your events? And then secondary research is going to be online forums, Reddit. Oh my goodness, great source of information. And even the kind of language they're using, what kind of questions are they using? What media do they use? That's a lot of industry research. Social Media Examiner is a place where you can download traffic and industry research on who's using what social media. Social Media Today is another one that does a lot of research. And then check out your own owned channel to see. So right now during COVID, focus groups and surveys really will help you dive into that primary research to get into them. Ask your customers if you have them already, or ask potential customers who your ideal customer would be if you're just starting your business. Interviews, that's the one-on-one. Surveys and focus groups. Focus groups, I think, are underutilized, but you have to do it properly and make sure you ask the right questions in the environment. And you can do a lot of this virtually now. And then online research. Absolutely do your online research. So this slide should be very helpful in guiding when you go to build out your target audience. So what's included in the template is just this. You have your audience, your primary audience, and then a secondary audience, but build out the list. This is just a start. You can add in a bunch of other things as well. An empathy map is something to think about. And what that is getting really inside their motivators. What are they thinking? What do they say? What are they actually hearing? And what do they feel? What are their challenges and what are their motivators? You can create a graphic like this and fill it in, or else put it into a chart, and that is included. The chart's included in your template. And as an example, here is our garden center identified as the mom is the primary. So we have an age indicators, it's the female, it's a local company. So still, even though you want to go online, they still want to be able to, her ideal place is local. Even things like interests and hobbies, get as detailed as possible. Remember, SWOT was not very detailed. You need to get inside your target audience and really know who they are and what motivates them. So a secondary audience could be, say it's the retiree. So they have a lot of time, but they have limited budget. They still have a garden, but it's a much smaller garden. So, but they influence the rest of the family as well, and they can teach and things like that. So their media consumption is newspapers, things like that, and it's not online. So during COVID, I would absolutely have to rethink this. I would really focus on the mom who is totally social savvy, and the retiree. You would have to think of another way to reach out to them. Maybe you've discovered that they use Pinterest and that's the only app that they use. Well, that's okay. We still want to do it. We're already creating social media content. We're going to now put that into Pinterest because of this secondary audience. So those are the kinds of things you want to evaluate, and especially during COVID, have a look at that lifestyle and those purchasing motivators right now. So that is it for day one. Before I move, and we still have 10 minutes, so questions, especially around target audiences. This is really important because as we go out into the tactics, it's all going to come back to your target audience. And I will leave you with homework to do all of this because it gives you time to get started, and then you'll go, oh, tactics, yes. And as I go through things, you're going to go, I know my target audience. They're going to want that. If I'm a business professional and right now they need information, maybe you're a lifestyle coach and or ergonomics, you do ergonomics assessments and you've been doing things offline, but now you're going online. And then you're going, okay, I can do all of this online. How do I reach these people? So you've had to pivot your business, and then you're going to pivot this because I know my target audience isn't leaving or they're working from home now. So how do I adjust my marketing? How do I adjust my business? And it all starts from understanding who you are as a business, and then who do you serve? So who is going to support your business right now to generate revenue, to help you build your business, and then get inside the head of all of these people and really offer value, resources, and support for these. This will help you build out your digital marketing plan, but also help build your business. So questions. That was a lot we covered in one day. Digital marketing, day one. Okay, I'm going to go through questions. Is there any that you see, Amanpreet? First, I'll let you bring them forward.
How many personas are needed?
Yeah, don't do too many. A primary and a secondary. So persona, so you can first start, and this will be part of actually your marketing strategy. The assumption here is that you have marketing segments already established in your marketing plan. So that could be, and that's more broader, general, and you're saying you have local people that have a garden, you know, and it's very general, and it's just people that are gardening and homeowners and things like that. And other people, maybe you target on condos, and that's a segment. And then from there, you're actually building out your personas that are the most influential. Remember those key players. So you're going to have one and then two. And if I had to actually give you a number, I would say stick with two, unless it makes sense to have more. But start with your segment, stay broad, like the stakeholder list, and then build it down because you only have so much time and energy and resources available. You want to be as specific as possible. Sure.
So when these people are being served, how should I tailor the communication approach?
That's a pretty general. How do you tailor the communication report? It actually, we're going to get into tactics, I think, is what you're going to, I think it's going to help clarify that. Because based on this, we're going to know all about them, and then we're going to get into tactics, and that's good. This is going to help inform what channels. So if you have, what are those content marketing strategies? Are you going to decide to do YouTube video because everyone's on YouTube, and you're going to do blogging, and then maybe just email campaigns or things like that? So you want to make sure then, based on that, your target audience understanding, how frequently do you send something? What kind of content are you going to create? What's the kind of language you're going to use? What kind of graphics are you going to use based on those people and then their purchasing habits? So if for the secondary audience, you know they're not going to shop online, so it's a retiree, and they're going to you just want to bring them into the store. So that's a whole nother world. You're not going to drive them to the shopping carts and things like that. Your primary audience, you're going to have all the language and graphics specific, but your whole goal is going to be to drive them to the online store, for example. And you're going to create content. They're going to engage on comments because they're comfortable on comments. Maybe they're doing polls. They're going to read blogs. Maybe they're going to digest some video, and then you're going to drive them to the online store where they could purchase things. So it's the whole user path based on your understanding of your target audience. So that is, it all comes down to that. So every time you make a decision, you're going to go, what's my business goal? What's my marketing goal? And who am I really serving? And what information do they need to move them through the funnel? And that's the strategy that we're going to do as we build out our tactics. And that's how knowing your target audience is really important, because even as a B2B, for example, and I know the garden center is B2C, but it's still the same idea. So if you have, I've spent a lot of time in the B2B world, so I do understand that, is that maybe your primary audience isn't actually the decision maker. Maybe your primary audience is going to be the gatekeeper. And so what kind of information do they need to make the decision to be able to send that document and convince their boss that they need your solution? So that is where you're going to go, okay, what motivates them? What job are they doing? When do they actually digest this? Do they like it in a PDF format? Do they like it in a video format? All of that is going to influence the communication strategies that you're going to implement. It's the how you're going to do it. Does that help? I hope that helps. That was probably any more?
I think people want a more clarification around like the user segments and then the target audiences. So how many personas within each segment, or if that's needed or not. And I think even the difference between primary and secondary, some people still aren't sure about.
Okay. All right. Let me go back. Primary and secondary. Okay. Nope. Let's move this forward. I will probably edit this out. So the primary is going to be, remember we talked about the key player. It's going to be, again, you have limited resources, right? You have only so much time. And I know how much time it takes to do digital marketing, not just creating your plan. That's where we want to be realistic. When you have to be consistent and persuasive and make sure you know what kind of content that you're going to create, it takes a lot of work. So you want to be very specific on who you're targeting that is going to drive sales. Ultimately, we're here to make money. If this is not going to make you money, don't do it. And that's where, and I know it will, but you want to be very specific in moving that needle forward. And remember at the beginning, we did the SWOT and what resources you have available. So you're going to, and this might actually start to make more sense when we get into the tactics, but you're going to say that you have a segment and you're in this, and this is homeowners. So maybe it's just homeowners within 50 kilometers is your segment. But you know, at the end of the day, that it's the mom in the family that's going to make the decision. Now, maybe dad makes the decision too, but you only have so much time and energy. So who do you want to focus on to be able to drive home the message to really make a difference? It's better to do one thing and do it well than to do a whole bunch of them. Please don't just throw out stuff and hope that someone from the household is going to purchase your stuff. And yeah, maybe dad does show up every once in a while, but really at the end of the day, mom's the one that comes to the garden center because she wants to come with her sister and maybe your mom, and she loves to sit and spend time, and she loves the fragrance flowers, but dad likes it too. But I only have so much time and energy, so I'm going to focus on mom. So if you want to add dad into this mix, you go right ahead, but you have to remember that you're going to have to now develop content and a strategy to support dad if you're their two primaries, which means you're going to have different visuals. He's going to have a whole different thing that motivates him, and entertainment and lifestyles. So be very careful on adding too many personas. You even adding a secondary can be a little bit dangerous in that way. But right now, for your digital marketing plan, for what you've created, be as specific as possible, but broad enough that you know that there's enough moms in the area that own homes that are willing to do this to be able to tap into this persona to support your business plan. And that's where we didn't get into business planning, but you want to make sure that you have a solid business plan, that you have identified, you've done your market research to know where's my territory that I have to tap into, how many houses are in my territory, how many women live in my territory, how many women have X amount of money, and I'm only using this example. And so that you have to know that you have enough audience base that you can support your business. Because if you don't have that business idea developed into a business plan, then I question whether or not you should be doing this business. This digital marketing plan is based on the fact that you've done your business plan, you've done your market research, you know there's enough of an audience, you've discovered through all of your search, you've done a segment that there's enough moms in the area that if I focus on these moms, that I will be able to reach the goals I want. And then you're going, well, maybe there's not enough moms, but there's enough retirees to be able to supplement that. So if I take my content marketing strategy and social media strategy and create tactics to support these two audiences, I know I can reach enough to be able to drive sales and reach the revenue goals that I want. And that's where it all has to come back from starting at your business plan and moving down. And then you might move back up and go, nope, I don't have enough. I have to add in another audience. Just know that you have to support it with content development. You have to make sure you're sensitive to the language, the motivators. You have to create an entire persona because you're going to have to use this to create tactics and content.
So Laura, on that note,
Mhm.
people are asking the difference between user segmentation and then your target audience.
Yeah, so segments is just it's the broader audience base that you're targeting. So for example, us here at MBEC, we support small business owners. Right, so there is a large segment of small business owners. There's some of you that are thinking about starting a business. There's some of you that have started, and then there's some of you that have scaled up. So for us, it's like, how do we support each of those segments in different sections? So perhaps at this stage, and I am just throwing this out there as an example, we've decided based on this that we have a lot of content, a lot of information already in place for those who are just starting or thinking. Then we have the startups that we have tactics that have to do that. And then we have those that scale up. So we're going, okay, so primary maybe is the startup and second is scale up. So we're going, okay, so there's a primary and a secondary, but our segment is just small business owners. And then there's a whole identification of what a small business owner is. So that's understanding that segment. But now we have to drive down because we only have so many people. And I will tell you, we run a really lean team here, don't we, Amit? And most of us have to do all of it. So we do understand the time it takes to do all of this. So if we want to drive our goals forward, we're going to go, okay, so we need to do, this is our primary, here's our secondary. and we're going to get focused down on this based on the needs of, maybe in the spring is a time that you focus on certain people, because it can be a timely thing, and then primary and secondary. So it's all based on your business goals, but we know that if we just throw out information about small business owners, it's such a huge segment. So now we have to funnel it down and get more specific into their personas. I'm trying to use a totally different example. I hope that makes sense. But it's general to specific. Yeah. So that is that. So before, oh, and everyone, we are at time, but I did want to let you know that day 2, we, again, we're going to do tactics, and we're going to work this out. So there's a lot of information. A lot of people don't get this right away. So in one hour, you did really well. But we're now going to figure out how are we going to implement with all this information? What are those tactics? What are those key metrics we want to track? We're going to talk about how are we going, what's our timeline going to be, and then how are we going to manage it, and a bit on budget. And I will mention resources and support.